Ati bado mapambano. Wewe bado mapambano. Ladies and gentlemen, season ya maandamano imerudi and I decided to record as early as possible just in case the government decides you guys are as useless. Hapana, watu wametuzoea bana. And maandamano is back, ladies and gentlemen. The smell of tear gas in your nostrils. The smell of victory is coming. It is coming. But anyway, guys, welcome again to another beautiful episode of the Cordial Podcast. With me, of course, Kang'ong'oi, your host of this wonderful podcast. And we are on the final episode of our first 3-part series where we've been talking about good men, finishing last, and we've handled it from the start, from the definition, from the character of a good man, from who exactly is a good man, defining if it's a myth or it's the actual truth. And basically the last bit of it was we were going to talk about the obstacles of obstacles good men face in the society at large. And ladies and gentlemen, this would have been a really, really long topic, but we try as much as possible to reduce things. But yeah, and I wanted to start off, obstacles of good men from the first definition we gave, of that good men fallacy when they are in a relationship. And so this particular man, we agreed, ladies and gentlemen, we agreed. The street said that this type of good men have an issue of having fantasies even before getting to know someone, and them diving so deep that they find themselves in the same issue over and over again. It's not the other person's issue, but the good man's issue. And then we discussed, of course, the good man in terms of generally who is a good man. And we touched on some characters. We talked about trustworthy, we talked about being generous. Hey, karibu nipigwe makofi hiyo wiki bana. To those people who have been listening and giving me reviews, bwana, mnataka kunimaliza na mimi kazi yangu tu nikuwapatia information and some bit of jokes from here and there. But anyway, we are now on the obstacles that good men face, and as I've said, we are going to discuss on these other people who have formed, this kind of good men who have formed this kind of fallacy and fantasy, of course, both of them in this world. And I think one of the obstacles they face is they think that everyone would like them because they are good. That's one fallacy I think we the good men should stop. Wacha leo ni support. So we the good men who have fallacies and fantasies, we should stop on that. Wacha neni nayo kabisa, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we agreed that not everyone will like you. Not everyone. And when you come into terms with that particular set of thinking, then you will move accordingly. Unasikia ndugu mwenzangu, we will move accordingly, because there is no way we can continue living in this fallacy and think that everyone will still like us. So we have to be genuine from the intentions that we have, and genuine from looking at how reality is. We have to take a bit of chill pills and even some hard pills to swallow, because you will suffer if you do not. So as I've said, one of the things is letting go of that fallacy that everyone should like you just because you're good. There are people who've not experienced good people, and so they will always wonder why exactly are you good, or why are you acting different from the rest of the world. And that should not faze you at all. You should just continue, because if your intentions were as good, I don't think you should be fazed by anything. So I just wanted to get that bit off of it, because we have to go to the serious business. The serious business, of course, is now the obstacles of being a good man, mm, a good man in the society, and the kind of obstacles that we face. Because Miss G, I don't know how we can handle this as a topic, but of course, as you know, as your host, I have to do some research. And ladies and gentlemen, good men often encounter bwana kizungu inanipotelelea. Good men often often encounter unique challenges in navigating modern society. These obstacles can arise from societal expectations, personal struggles, and systemic issues. Here are some of the common challenges faced by good men. So, as I've mentioned there, there is personal struggles, there is systemic issues, and when we're talking about systemic issues, we're talking about how the world is set up generally, and how life is lived by both genders, men and women, and how society has been set up in these particular systems that we found here, and we obviously are you know living within them. So there's systemic issues, and then there's societal expectations and stereotypes. Ladies and gentlemen, when we are talking about stereotypes, we are talking about these fallacies of people saying men should be providers. Bwana, hiyo kitu ilitoka wapi? Wait, that is a joke. That is a joke. Wewe usinichukulie serious. Ukinichukulia serious niwe utaumia. Hey, bwana, you should know Mungai by now. Tuko season 2, so episode 3 is here. So yeah, we are going to start with the societal expectations and stereotypes, and one of them, get ready. One of them is toxic masculinity, the pressure to conform to traditional gender roles that can lead to emotional suppression, difficulty seeking help, and unhealthy behaviors. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the biggest of obstacles that not even good men face, but men face, especially on the aspect of this difficulty in seeking help. I think we have been nurtured in a way that we have to find solutions even before you can talk about things, because there is no way talking about things can actually, quote unquote, help without you having the solution. And we are obviously told that we are wired to seek solutions, we are wired to have solutions, and even the other gender believes that we are wired to have solutions. And if you as a man cannot have solutions of problems, my friend, you're a weak man. Even though on Twitter huku nje bana tunaitwa weak men. So yeah, so I don't know exactly why that will be defined as toxic masculinity, but I believe that masculinity in itself is taking responsibility. That in itself is masculinity. All these things, when you're trying to seek help, it is you taking responsibility. When you have unhealthy behaviors, take responsibility of your behaviors, and you will be all set to go. And then there's this part of emotional suppression. I think in the recent years, personally, I've encountered men being open enough to communicate, and I think when people talk about emotional suppression, I think it's how the world has been set up in a way that if a man is to open up on their emotional issues and emotional struggles, the first thing they're met up with is, excuse me, why are you telling us about your emotional? You're supposed to be strong, my guy. Why are you telling us about your emotional suppression issues? And I think this is a whole thing that has to be worked on, because it's a society issue, and we are going to talk about that in the systemic issues that good men face. The next one is the breadwinner role, the expectations that men should be the primary financial providers, and this can create stress and anxiety, especially in times of economic hardship. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even have to talk about this, because the world, how it has been set up and where we are headed to right now, we can both agree. Yeah, me and my audience can both agree that with the girl empowerment that has come about for the previous decades, we can see how women are really getting into spaces and being successful and all these things. And now there's this talk of, women wondering why men aren't making enough money or more money than them. Them saying they're looking for the 1% of men and then still crying when they don't get them. And then you wonder, are relationships supposed to be based on money? Now this is another topic we have to talk about aside, but to me, I will always believe a man should be the breadwinner. But when it comes to a relationship, and I think this has to be personal in your own way, how you understand or want your relationship to be like. But I think men should, there's some things men should handle, and that doesn't mean handling everything. Now that is my own conviction, so if you don't believe in that, tafadhali usikuje kunimaliza. But anyway, yeah, we will leave that at that. I think I'll wait for the reviews to see if we can set up another episode that will talk about this breadwinning role. And then now to the next one is emotional invalidation. Men are often discouraged from expressing their emotions, leading to feelings of isolation and loneliness. Um, we've talked about this when we were talking about toxic masculinity, and I think one of the traits I'm not sure if I talked about was this emotional side of the good men. I think these are people who are aware of their emotions and they're not afraid to show them. And if anyone isn't really prepared to listen to them, I think good men understand that and they leave. They create a community that is safe for them to actually be emotionally validated, however much that is hard these days from the other gender. Because they struggle with this. We won't lie, tafadhali tusidanganyane. That other gender really struggles with men being emotional or validating a man's emotions. It will take a while before that is actually figured out, but mi naweza pigia tu makofi wenye wanajaribu, when those kind of people who listen, from that other gender, tunaongelelea hiyo gender ingine, you know if for those who listen and they take into account what a man talks about, how a man expresses himself, tafadhali makofi. Hatufai kupigia makofi, but makofi juu kuinja jo ni kunoma. So the next part we're going to talk about the personal struggles that good men go through, and one big issue: mental health issues. Men are more likely to suffer from depression and anxiety, but less likely to seek treatment due to societal stigma. This has been a big issue. I think we can all agree that mental health issues are things that both genders go through. As long as I was hearing somebody talking about mental health, and this guy said that as long as you have a mind, bwana, you have mental health issues. I don't know how that was supposed to make sense, but I actually understood from whatever the guy was trying to say. But anyway, as we're talking about this, mental health is something that has been brought about, generally in the whole world by everyone. There's also awareness months for mental health and all these things. But to me, when this topic of mental health issues, when it comes about, especially for men, I'm always inclined to ask the other gender. You can post about having mental health issues for men, having a whole month set aside for men's mental health. But I don't think this awareness program actually works, because that's just you knowing it. Oh, there's mental health issues for men. Okay, Aki, I'm going to post about them. Even the other men who do that, talk about those things. I think real change will come when we actually decide to change the systems that have been set, that we have been born in, whereby you find yourself not validating a man, thinking, no, validation is only for women. If you have that kind of thinking, my friend, I don't know how you're dealing with life, and I'm sorry for you. But yeah, I think when it comes to mental health, one paramount thing that men should have in order to improve their mental health is obviously finding something to do. Being busy and being reliable and being dependent on that is something that can actually do wonders for this particular program. And yeah, that's my take on it. Even without the societal stigma, I think it will also end when men are actually, I'm sorry to say this for whoever might find it offensive, but when men are in control, then that's the natural way of doing this. Hey, one of the next one is doing taguza wangapi, but substance abuse. Men face higher rates of substance abuse, often as a way to cope with underlying issues. Personally, I have no experience of substance abuse. Well, if you are kama utaweka patco kama substance abuse, bwana munishike bana munipeleke ria, because me and patco can never be separated. But yeah, we all have things that we abuse. Tusidanganyane tafadhali, we all have things that we abuse, and we need to actually work on how things can be worked on without relying on some substance just because you've lacked a few things. Yeah, so that's substance abuse. Then there is relationship difficulties, and we've talked about it. Navigating complex relationships and balancing work and family life can be challenging for the men. Of course, that is also challenging to the other gender, but when we're talking about relationship difficulties, it is this one where we have fallacies and fantasies of thinking that, hey, you find somebody who's just interested in you, and your whole mind goes into planning this whole fantasy of how your relationship should be like. And we have to be in touch with our realities. We have to actually find people who are worthy of being together with, because let me tell you, huku nje nitashinda nikisema hii kitu. Anyway, we're going to jump again straight into systemic issues, and one of it is gender inequality. Systemic biases and discriminations can limit opportunities for men in certain fields and perpetuate harmful stereotypes. Well, gender inequality has always been perceived to be from the angle of women because, of course, of how history has been. But I think where we're headed to as a society right now, we can see more women taking up corporate spaces, which is not bad. It is actually good. It is actually beautiful to see women taking charge, and women doing wonderful things in every kind of field and sector of this life. But that's a system already been formed, and we can obviously see how men are taking it. There are people who can't handle it. There are people who will take that pressure and amount it to them becoming better as men. So it's a whole issue that needs to be obviously talked about, but also find solutions, and men knowing that it's not really something that is obviously at 100% beneficial to them, but it is something that should keep us on our feet, that we should do better, we should handle things better, because at the end of the day, man, society has to be functioning for everyone. And the next one is workplace culture. Hostile work environments and toxic workplaces dynamics can negatively impact men's well-being. So I guess we can all agree that this goes hand in hand with mental health issues. So we're going to skip that and go directly again to the lack of support systems. Men may lack adequate support network to address their challenges, leading to feelings of isolation. And this is where I will throw in that question. Do you, as a man who's listening to this episode, do you have support networks around you? Do you have people you can rely on and say, this is my community, this community understands me, and this community validates me when there is need to do that. And this is a whole program that needs to be undertaken well, because it's really difficult to get support networks, especially in this world right now, because people are really trying to build up this individuality aspect of life where you can do things alone, where it's another fallacy that we are trying to create, and it's another system issue that will come up, and people aren't recognizing this, but we will see it as generations come in, where people are thinking you can do things alone, where you think that you don't need community. Hey, my friend, you're headed to the wrong direction. So creating these support networks, especially for men, comes hand in hand with being vulnerable, being able to stand up and say, I want to express my emotions, I want to express these feelings of isolation, I want to seek help, I want to stop being emotionally suppressing everything that I'm experiencing. And we cannot keep on saying that men lack support systems if we men wewe sijasema women, the other gender, nimesema we as men continue ignoring the fact that we actually need to create the spaces from our end first of all, and then to the other ends of involving the other gender. We cannot wait for them to build spaces and then think that we are going to thrive in them if we ourselves don't have such spaces. So yes, you as a man who's listening to this episode, tafadhali create your own support networks, whereby it's not all about you being validated, but you validating each other with every kind of person that is in that group. And I can proudly say that I have my own support system, where I know I can network with people, and we can have conversations, and we can get to know each other and build up a relationship that is based on what can be functional for us. And it's not it's a tough thing, especially right now, to also keep up with all these kinds of networks we want to build, friendship, relationships. All these things are hard, but it takes work to actually find good things or create good things. So it's hard work, but we also have to work smart and be successful at it. So it's important to recognize that these challenges are not universal, and individual experiences may vary. However, addressing these obstacles is crucial for promoting gender equality, mental health, and overall well-being. And men, when I'm talking about overall well-being, inatoka kwa akili, physically. Bwana, why are you as a man kuja hapa nje kutuambia ati you don't like walking? Wewe tabia mbaya. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our first 3-part series, good men finishing last. And one question I'd love to throw out at the end of this is, are you a good man? Are you striving to be a good man? Or are you just comfortable with just being a man and how the system has been set up for you to be controlled as a man? So we have had this conversation. I think it will be much better if I bring another masculine energy to to obviously have this conversation with, but we will set up that in due time. But anyway, it has been a pleasure working through these episodes. This is episode 3. We are going to episode 4, where we have a brilliant topic. Bwana nikiwaambia sijui kama we are going to talk about simping. We are going to talk about simping. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, our first episode of that topic, our first episode will be defining what simping is. I know you think you know what simping is, but tafadhali tukae chini, tujitayarishe, because bwana, simping is not what you think simping is. Or is it? I guess we'll never know. Oh wait, we will know next week on our next episode. So ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure again. I've been your host, Kang'ong'oi, and we are done with the first part series. So share this episode. Share it, or rather do not share it, whether do not, jiwekee. Ukisikia ni mzuri jiwekee, usipatie watu wengine tafadhali, usiwapate, hata usijaribu ati you want to create network. Wachana nayo, wachana. It has been a pleasure, guys. See you next week. I love you. Ati I love you, hizi ni jaba gani? I love you kama nani? Toxic masculinity ndio hiyo. So have a blessed week, have a blessed day, have a blessed new month, because nikiambia date na rekodi kitu anyway. Wacha tukafunge hapo, because wewe watu wako busy huku nje. It has been a pleasure. Goodbye, see you next episode.